everybody, welcome to the Fire It Up with CJ show. Today we have Guy Finley, who has been on our program before. I love him dearly. He is going to be talking about a topic that he wrote about many books ago called The Secret of Letting Go. And he's been letting go for 4 decades. For over 4 decades. You've been letting go for over 4 decades? That's what it says in the promotion. So we got to figure out what that means. So we're going to start off about letting go in these tumultuous times and getting his kind of a higher perspective on what it means to let go. So welcome, Guy.
Hi, CJ.
Okay, you've been letting go for 4 decades. What's going on? Like, what have you been letting go of over the last 40 years?
You know, the truth is, in the long run, at least as I've discovered over these 4 decades, actually 7 decades now,
Uh-huh.
there's really only one thing that we have to let go of. And as simply as it can be said, it's a mistaken idea about who we are and why we're here on this planet and our purpose as a human being. Because when you measure the pain index at any given moment, it's always about something that's interfering with what we believe is our path. You know, who I am as a person, what are my possibilities? Am I getting close? Have I perfected this, or what remains to be done, or what's still punishing me that I need to reconcile? And so our life is like a series of quick takes of a photograph of comparing what our mind sees as the event, which, by the way, it defines before we know it. It tells us what the moment means.
Hmm.
And then it measures this idea of who we are against the very image that it has. And invariably, there's a conflict, there's a strife. Yes, from time to time, like a one-armed bandit in Vegas, you know, it comes up 3 sevens and hallelujah, we get a bunch of coins that we just deposit back into the machine again, meaning this life, and it consumes it, and it consumes us. So letting go, it's an inside job.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a process of awakening to the fact that it's me that I have to let go of.
Mm.
It's the demands, the
Yeah.
insistence. And of course, there are no demands, no insistence without the corresponding images that I'm attached to.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about letting go, it's not just the things, the people, the problems. It's the fact that if I weren't attached to them in some way, it would be meaningless to me.
Mm.
So I can't disconnect my pain from the degree of attachment I have to images that are supporting the self that clings to them.
Mm.
Hope that's not too complicated to kick things off, but
Well, okay,
that's
I've been doing it for 2 decades, so I still have some more
oh,
time to
you're a
go, I guess.
baby, you're a
I'm
baby.
gonna let it go, baby. But I can tell you about here's what maps and my own personal experience to what you're saying. So, letting go in the beginning was about, I was trying to figure out who am I? And so I started like doing personality tests and understanding the kinds of things I liked and disliked. And then, I had like, I'm an Enneagram 8, I'm an ENTJ, and Myers Briggs. I'm, having all these schematics to put me in buckets of who I was and how I behaved relative to the masses, right? It's an external look of who I am vis-a-vis other people. And then over time, I recognize actually those values defining myself and the images are positive, but then they're also very narrowing. But when I'm in my worst case scenario, I kind of revert back to those those schematics. But I have let go. I have let go of those kinds of things. And then there's like letting go of thoughts and beliefs of others. with respect to how should my husband behave? How should other people behave? How should I be in relationship? And so there's like a
Yeah.
whole letting go of that. And now where I've evolved is going like, wait a second, there's something inside of me that is divine, that's infinite, that's perfect, and that needs to run the show. And now my letting go is of the ego, which is constantly trying to run the show versus the divine self. And like this, I'm like having this driving Miss Daisy scenario where like my ego is like, I'm driving. And then I like shove off the driver and like, no, it's my divine self driving. And it's like this back and forth where they argue about which direction they're going and how to get there. So that's kind of how my letting go has gone, and the COVID has been a whole nother level of letting go, and like bizarre things that I didn't even know, like letting go of things like when I was pre-verbal, like a baby, like letting go of my mama leaving me, like I don't even know what it is, but I can feel the abject terror of letting go, or letting go of ancestral wounds, or letting go of past life stuff, or letting go if like you become like one with everything, you start letting go of stuff that's not even yours, but is yours because you're one with everything. So that's what my letting go has evolved over time.
Oh, CJ.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It actually is. But if you can see that, look, we have these right ideas, and they happen to resonate with the right part of us.
Right.
Like who you are, your true nature is immeasurable. So any effort to measure it by any form, I don't care who the guru, the saint, the teacher is, the iconic Christian, Buddhist, Mohammedan teaching, I don't care what it is. Anytime thought gets involved in bringing about some form of, well, I'm this or I shouldn't be that, or the divine should be doing this, not me, then in that moment you have fallen, which is an accurate word, but most of us don't even know that it's a fall because we haven't reached a kingdom above thought yet. But we've fallen into the hands of something that is unendingly seeking itself by comparison. And by definition, comparison is conflict. It's either or. It's one or the other. And so what drives this incessant need to discover ourselves through thought is that the more thought we take to make that discovery, the more increased the conflict is in that consciousness that can never resolve itself by taking thought. Right out of Christian scripture, actually. What man taking thought, woman taking thought can add 1 cubit to his or her stature. It's impossible. But it takes 2 decades, 3 decades. It takes whatever lifetime or lifetimes it takes to begin reaching this point where you start to understand things that thought can't even begin to grasp. Like just, is today? Should I say what day it is? I know we're recording
Memorial
this.
Day. Yes.
Okay, Memorial Day. So yesterday, Sunday, I'm giving free online talks now, which we'll get to. And I was talking about pain because I think what you've pointed to here is nothing like being quarantined to see how many times we distract ourselves from our pain by all of the things that we pursue, seemingly to fulfill ourselves, but actually running from ourselves. Because we don't know what to do with ourselves without something occupying our mind of a familiar mechanical basis. We just don't. We don't have much of a contemplative life. Even if we know what it means to meditate, we're good for 20 or minutes or an hour, if whatever it may be. And then as that meditative mind wanes and the rest of everything else starts to kick in, we're just as mad as we were before we sat down originally. We're just caught again in that conflict. So one of the things, CJ, and I hope we can explore this together, that I talked about on Sunday, was that there's nothing in creation that comes into creation that by its very nature isn't dependent upon all other creation to complete itself.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that is created, pick a tree, a bush, some of the deer laying outside here, the turkeys that I can't get rid of, all of these creatures, static and moving, they all depend upon each other in a kind of entanglement of life force that keeps each and every one of them doing what they are intended to do, which is to serve as an instrument for the completion of every other creature.
Mm.
There's a famous koan attributed to Buddha's teaching. If a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound?
Right.
Most of us have heard that koan. And they used to present these things to aspirants because the aspirant would just drive himself nuts trying to figure out, if the tree falls in the woods, no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, let's see. Obviously, it makes a sound if it falls in the wood, but wait a minute, if there's no one there, is there a sound?
Mm-hmm.
And that mind vacillates back and forth between the opposites, between the one who would hear and the sound. But obviously, if it's making a sound and there's no one there, you get the drift here.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the point. What that teaching is referring to is called mutual dependency.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that exists in this world by the sake of its relationship with something else in this world.
Mm-hmm.
No relationship, no existence. So that existence is relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want to get too deep, but everything in existence, nothing can complete itself by itself, CJ. Nothing can complete itself by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you ready for the shoe to drop?
Mm-hmm.
And that includes our pain.
Mm. Wait, say it again.
Nothing in the universe can complete itself because everything depends upon something else that it's in relationship with to bring about the ceaseless rebirth, the ceaseless reconciliation. Third law of thermodynamics: energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. So that's alluding to this fact that everything is in this entangled web of life, the divine. So is our pain. And pain cannot complete itself, nor can the nature that is resisting the pain do anything to complete the pain, because by resisting the pain, we are isolating that consciousness from the whole of the celestial life in which that pain would be reconciled by itself. We cannot heal ourselves. Christ said, "Of myself I can do nothing." Now, if Christ of himself, if Buddha of himself, if Lao Tse, if Hafiz, if none of these masters, the avatars, can do anything of themselves to heal themselves, where in God's name do I get the idea that my task is to look at myself in quarantine, alone, anxious, taking too much food, drinking, reliving regrets, that now in my agitation, now I have to go figure out what this pain is about, which I can only go into my own past, pull up the content of that consciousness, which is creating the pain I'm trying to escape. To get all that at once, CJ, to see it, is the beginning of a new kind of quiet. A new way in which the mind is brought into the perfect negation of its own activity.
Okay.
And
Pow! Wait. Hold on. Hold the horses. Okay. So I want to actually, I want to talk all about what you just said. the mutual dependency, how, in fact, this COVID, which is brought on by nature to help us move forward, to complete our maybe healing of pain, and how that pain, if we can have a different relationship to it versus trying to escape it, which we've stuffed down and done for so much because we don't like feeling pain, um, so that this is a gift, which is very hard to
Yeah,
swallow, but
yeah, yeah,
at the
yeah.
same time, all right,
See,
so
but here's the thing, and I'll let you finish. All things good come to those for whom the good is all things.
hmm
All things good come to those for whom the good is all things. So somebody hates this virus, blames the Chinese government, hates Donald Trump, whatever it is that one finds, and listen to this, as an outlet, a blame that allows the pain to remain in place instead of allowing the pain to go through its natural cycle of being completed by its relationship to a broader understanding, a broader life. So that we must make that distinction, because some people, I don't understand, that's all wrong, it's all bad. My sister hurt me badly 30 years ago. I'm still enraged, and I'm thinking about her a lot more now that I have time to go through it. And all the rest of that, exactly, all the rest of that that's coming up as a result of what? Something that life has brought to us. Can't change what life brings, but I can change what comes out of life when it brings it. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And every moment, planetary or personal, is the teaching and the revelation. Am I the student, or am I the one who suffers because I reject and resist the lesson?
Hmm.
Period.
All right,
Learn the lesson, letting go takes place naturally.
okay.
Reject the lesson, and the lesson's coming back.
I love that. That's a perfect way to close. All right, so we are going to be talking in the next segment um, how we can see COVID is good for us, and which is kind of a big like what? All right, so in the next segment, we've been talking to Guy Finley, who has these wonderful talks on 2 times a week, and on Wednesdays at 7:30 and Sunday at 9:30. And you can go to his website, which we'll actually have on the little side on the right, to go to the classes. They're completely free. They have a teaching for 45 minutes, and at the end have a Q&A section as well.
Yes.
And in addition to that, on June 19th and 22nd, he's going to have an online retreat, which is what he normally hosts in the Pines in his beautiful Oregon
Yeah, yeah,
setting,
yeah.
but he's going to have in his beautiful online pine-filled imaginary setting. So in the next segment, we're going to be talking about how COVID is good for us. Thank you so much.
You bet.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below, or to subscribe to the show, or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.